Okay, so, guys, it's like the game of the year.
Wearing my special Kojima gear today.
I knew you were going to wear that today. I actually, when I was picking him up, I was like, he's going to wear his Hideo Kojima jumper. Guys,
do you know the guys from Inside Gaming bought a Kojima jumper just to copy me? Disgusting. Inside Gaming.
What are you doing?
We need to have fake beef with them.
Okay, fake beef.
They have
fake
millions
beef
of they have millions of subscribers. We need to steal them.
We're coming after you, fellas. Okay. Now listen, we're here to talk about the game of the year. I can't think of any other game that's been shrouded in such secrecy. People have no idea what this game is. We've been lucky and fortunate enough to play it and finish it. This is the embargo, people. We get to finally talk about it. But where do you start? Let's just do the drop, okay? Because this is going to be non-spoiler. Then we're going to do maybe a spoiler video in the future. But this video is going to be non-spoiler. Here we go. Okay. So,
where do we start?
Where do you start? I mean,
Sam, what do you think about Death Stranding?
I think
is it good, bruh?
I think it sucks.
What a piece of shit.
God, this sucks,
Just
bro.
fucking deliver
I
parcels,
wanted Knack
man.
3, you know, but they gave us this instead.
So, okay.
Overall thoughts to start.
Overall thoughts to start. You start, Sam.
I really think that there was a lot on the line for Kojima.
The most on the line.
The most on the line. Everyone, a lot of gamers know his personal story about what happened with Konami. He was pretty much thrown out. He's sitting there with a pad and a pen 3-4 years ago. He's like, okay, now time to start something fresh. It was a huge gamble. He went out there, and I believe it's the best thing that I've seen him do. I've played most of the MGS games up to 4. I do believe that this is the best thing I think he's ever done. I think it's the most inspired, groundbreaking work in terms of IP, basic mechanics, his approach to open world. We'll get all more into this, but just an overall, everything that I've experienced in this game, I'm like, wow, I'm so glad that this is such a fresh kind of take on so many mechanics and ideas that I've seen before, and I really do think that this is game of the year. This is not the Kojima effect either. A lot of people are going to be like, oh my god, it's Hideo Kojima. Someone else could have made this, and I would have been like, perfect. This is actually really, really a fantastic game. And
Sekiro Devil May Cry fans be like,
yeah, a lot of people might not like to hear that, but I'll get to later why I think that's going to be the case. But overall, I do think that this is a giant job well done, a huge task at hand to, you know, it's his coming out party of his own studio, and I think he's done a fantastic job and set himself up for the future.
I've played almost everything that, you know, Hideo Kojima has made, and I have no problem telling you that I think that this is his best work. I don't think it's as breakthrough and revolutionary as Metal Gear Solid 1 was, because I feel as though that really enlarged video games as a medium and helped us reframe how we look at sort of cinematic storytelling in games. But I do feel as though the audio-visual vision of this game and its execution, coupled with an entirely new and strangely compelling gameplay loop, coupled with just some truly remarkable technology underpinning it all, I think makes this his greatest achievement. And the idea that he built this in 3 years as well, while also building a studio.
Crazy.
This is unquestionably his greatest accomplishment. There's no question about that. Whether or not you think it's your favorite Kojima game, that's up to you. But I think, objectively speaking, this is his greatest accomplishment, because this product is so remarkable. And to see what he has done in the time that he has done it, and the way it just reframes so much of our thinking, I just think is astounding. We should probably talk about what this game actually is, because we've just been gushing about how good it is. Let's just take it from the top, right? I think a lot of people have been watching trailers and watching the gameplay slice from TGS, and they've been like, there's no way this is the game, there's gotta be more, blah, 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 okay? What you have seen so far is the game.
Most part of it, at least.
About 80% of it, I would say, you have seen Death Stranding, okay? You are literally the, like, FedEx dude. You take a parcel from one place to the other, and that's the game, okay?
Look, that's ultimately most of the game, but a lot of people, my main concern was there was going to be a very light emphasis on combat. Be a very light emphasis on stealth. In some parts, I was proven wrong that this is actually the game. I was thinking, no, there's going to be more, but that's actually, strangely enough, okay. This game has successfully shown me that it doesn't have to have a lot of fighting, a lot of stealth, a lot of anything. It can just give you a traversal gameplay loop where you're just constantly going from A to B with a lot of story and whatnot. There's a lot of beats within that, of course, but ultimately this is the game. It's really about you and Mother Nature and going from a lot of points all around this open world that he's created, and for you to just be in this environment and constantly try and attack certain obstacles and kind of be in certain environments, and that's really it. And he's done this in such a way that I've never seen other games do.
Yeah, I think the way you're describing it though makes it sound like it's just a walking simulator, and that really couldn't be further from the truth. The gameplay systems in this are so sophisticated, it would take like an hour to explain them all.
I'm not saying it's a walking simulator.
No. I know you're not, but I'm just saying, like, I think that at the highest level, that's what you might think. But I think it's important to dig into those gameplay systems. So I guess it all starts really with your loadout decision at the beginning of a mission, which is like, what are you bringing with you? And you have a lot of choice inherent in that, because you can travel very light, choose to bring nothing with you, and that makes it a lot easier for you to be maneuverable and get over things and move at pace. Or you could be someone that brings with you a lot of kit, like ladders and climbing things and building stuff, so you can build structures and the like, which makes it harder and slower for you, but at the same time you get to build infrastructure as you go, which might make it easier for yourself as you come back, or for others who can use that, and we'll come back to that later on. So that loadout is the start of it, like what am I bringing with me? And then after that, when you're on the trail, it's like there's a lot of moment-to-moment decision making. First of all, the terrain all has sort of like different, I guess you could call it gradients and sort of, stability elements. So you can kind of scan the environment, see how sure your footing is, and that will determine which way you should go, and, should you steady yourself as you're going over the land and what have you. And it sounds boring, okay, but it's not, because it really means that every single step you take, you're thinking about where should I put that step, rather than just pushing forward like you would in a game like Skyrim or The Witcher, for example.
I do feel like this game is the first game I've ever come across where I feel like you are really at odds with Mother Nature, and you really feel like the core reason you are playing this game is to constantly battle the environments and going from one point to the other and enjoying that experience, enjoying that journey to get there. Every single foot that you put forward, you are ultimately like feeling like there's a small triumph when you've got over that mountain, when you've crossed that gorge, when you've got over that river that's too deep. There is these small little victories that ultimately make the whole game up. And when you're looking at this probably from TGS, you might think, well, that looks boring, but like, Hideo Kojima has done this in such a way that it is so rewarding to just feel like you are just being in this environment and having this small little conversation really with Mother Nature. Like, she's giving you this, well, you've got to battle through this. And like, it's just, I've never seen a game where it works so perfectly, where you don't need a lot of reason. Like, there's not a lot of story beats between those moments. It's just like, let's just get through this. It's almost like, and we might disagree slightly on this, but like, I feel like all those moments are like little problem-solving things that you've just got to like get through, and there's just so much reward in that.
Yeah, the feeling of satisfaction that you get, I think, is one of the defining characteristics of this game, because I just feel like so many times as I was trudging through the snow and one step after the other, or scaling a cliff, or I've built something somewhere, this feeling of satisfaction that you get. But very few games can make me forget that I'm holding a controller. When I reach my destination, so often I was like, oh, thank God, and not out of frustration, like, thank God that's over, but just thank God that, like, I made it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it really does create that experience of, like, the journey, or parts of a journey, bit by bit, segment by segment, and each of them are just their own sort of, like, sense of reward and satisfaction.
Yeah.
So it's not just the traversal elements, though, that define it. There is also some combat and some stealth. So on stealth side, there's lots of these BTs, these kind of ghost things walking around. And the stealth moments in this game are so incredibly tense.
I actually think that they put some of the Metal Gear Solid stealth moments to shame.
Absolutely.
I think the fundamental difference there is, Solid Snake had his hands, and he had the ability to, like, he had the weapons on him to always fight himself out of a situation against any human that he was fighting. With the BTs, you're ultimately fighting something that is too powerful for you, especially at the start of the game, So a lot of these stealth moments, especially at the beginning, you feel so helpless, and there's such like a tense moment of being close to these BTs and feeling like if they do find you, you don't have the actual tools to fight yourself out of these situations. And they felt incredible to be in those moments. I've never seen something like that. And there's other moments too where you can in fact stealth in other areas of the map where it's not only BTs, it's going to be, actual human NPCs that you have to fight. So the stealth mechanic can work in many different ways, and you'll feel different ways depending on the environment and the enemies that you're fighting.
When combat happens, and it does happen a fair amount, that's also amazing. So you are fighting these incredible bosses like you're seeing in the TGS footage. There are a number of these different encounters, and they happen whenever you get caught by the BTs. So you kind of want to avoid getting caught as much as possible, otherwise you end up fighting one of these bosses every time.
Yeah, so there is a huge penalty for dying. There is a way out of that, very interesting mechanic.
Yep.
At the same time, if it happens 5 or 6, 10 times throughout the whole game, it becomes a bit tiresome.
Yeah,
I like the idea.
I didn't have to do it that many times.
Me neither.
Like,
I didn't either. But I think it would get very tiresome for someone that maybe be struggling, that is struggling with getting through a particular part.
For sure.
That is probably the only thing I would say. Some people might grind them a bit, knowing that they have to do that every time they die.
Yeah.
But again, like, all in all, like, the combat felt fine, and I love the choice it gave you. You can engage a lot and fight.
Yes.
Or you can use the stealth mechanic. It's just a great way of just giving the player a choice of how they want to experience that game.
They're ultimately the three components of the game. There's traversal, getting from point A to point B. There's stealth to avoid the trouble. And then there's combat when you're in the trouble. And all three of these parts, I think, are just masterful. You know, they really are just incredible.
But there's also the story to consider and the characters. I mean, apart from the 80% of the game, that's the gameplay loop. The story beats, I think, are truly phenomenal.
Yeah.
Some of those moments, it's straight out of a movie. The artistic choices, a lot of the dialogue, a lot of the cutscenes just feel absolutely masterful. There are some characters, like, the main antagonist.
Villain, yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of him personally.
He was a bit weak, to be honest.
Weak. I felt like his motivation, it almost felt like, when you create such a fantastic cast of characters, great mocap, great story, great IP, great world that you've imagined, I want that to be coupled with an equally great antagonist that has real deep reasons of why he's going to make these problems for you throughout the story, but you don't really feel that. That's the letdown for me, is the actual, Higgs, the main bad guy.
So I think that a lot of people would think that this is just one of those, like, story games, like, 15 to 20 hours of gameplay with lots of cutscenes. This game is 80% gameplay, right? 20% cutscenes. It does not feel at all like there's too many cutscenes.
You are quite wanting that next cutscene.
Yeah.
It really positions itself quite well.
Metal Gear games are famous for, like, you take one step, another cutscene rolls. Not like that here, okay? And also, a lot of people expected this to be 15 to 20 hours long. My playthrough was 45 hours.
Mine was about 30, maybe 25, depending on how many times I put it down to get a sandwich or whatnot. Like, it depends on how much or a smoker. Depends on how much you want to do side missions.
Yeah.
We were ultimately sharing one copy, so I was like, I need to get all this done so I can be able to talk about this. So I did very little of the side missions. I did do a bit of it, but I didn't actually spend a lot of time doing it.
I did a fair amount of the side content, not all of it though, and I was 45 hours, and it wasn't like I was, trying to do absolutely everything, wasting time. I was, just really soaking up the game. So this is not a 15 to 20 hour cutscene driven movie game. This is a proper chunky video game, and I think that if you are a completionist, you've got at least 60 hours ish, 65 maybe, of doing everything. And also, it's just the kind of game that I think a lot of people are going to want to come back to, because it's so relaxing to be able to do it, and just so beautiful and so striking, and it's just a lot of people, this is going to be one of their favorite games ever. I promise you that. There's no question about that.
I think the main thing because of that is going to be how visually it sets itself up. I think, the way that Kojima will pace it so perfectly.
Yeah.
Music will drop in at certain moments. Landscapes will open up visually and give you visual kind of a bit of breadth,
Yeah, for sure.
There's also going to be moments where it's very intense. It just feels so perfectly paced, story-wise, character development, and also geographically it feels so perfectly paced.
Yeah, I've never seen an environment look this good.
Yeah, and look, there are changes in the environment. We're not going to spoil that. You experience that, when you play it, but ultimately it feels perfectly paced also in terms of when they want to introduce new and exciting ways to kind of traverse those environments.
Sure.
There's also going to be ways that they expect you to traverse those environments in terms of certain items that will come along, vehicles that will come along, which you've already seen in the TGS trailers, but just ways that they want to slowly introduce new things that will keep the actual gameplay loop of moving from one point to the next interesting and re-energized, So I do think also it's probably one of the best paced games I've ever played, and visually, I mean, it is just so incredible. It is the first moment I've ever looked at a backdrop. I'm like, that looks real. If you're playing on a fantastic television, you're like, holy
does.
shit, this is now getting to that moment where you're like, this is new territory,
Sure.
you know?
I think that the reception of this game is going to be extraordinarily strong from most of the critics. I think a lot of critics will sort of look at this and think, it's a bit boring, whatever. I think players will be very divided on this. I think that this is not a game with universal appeal. I think a lot of people are going to think it's boring, and I understand that, and I get it. I don't think those people are wrong. I just really strongly disagree.
That means that you think they're wrong.
I think they're wrong. No, but like, I do feel that this has an esoteric appeal. It's not for everyone. It's not Call of Duty. You know what I mean? It's not any of that shit. It's not a guy with. It's not the hero with the gun. It's a different thing, you know. And so I feel as though for that reason, it's not going to appeal to everyone, but I feel as though the ones that it will appeal to are going to find something really extraordinary that they've never experienced before, and that will become one of their favorite games. This is unquestionably one of the favorite gaming experiences I've ever had. Honestly,
Definitely.
it really is. It really is. It's really astounding.
It really is. I think a lot of people might not like the game, but it's going to be very hard not to respect the game.
For sure.
I think that's the defining difference there. A lot of games come along, and some people absolutely love them, and some people just hate them because they don't identify what this is. A lot of people might come in here and go, well, the actual gameplay loop is not for me. They're going to see the visual representation, the cinematography that it tries to actually implement into this game. The world that it's building, the characters, the mocap, the love, tender, and care that Hideo Kojima has put into this game. It's going to be hard for anyone to not respect what he's tried to do here.
For sure.
So I really think that this is going to be Game of the Year, basically because we haven't seen such a seismic, like, holy shit, what the hell is this on so many fronts. We've played all the, apart from Outer Wilds, which I haven't played, I've played all the other releases out this year. Nothing's going to come close to this, and I do think it comes down to, just like God of War last year. I think the reason God of War won last year compared to Red Dead was a continuation. I mean, look, there's a lot of reasons why games will win Game of the Year. I don't pretend to know all of them, but last year specifically, Red Dead just was a continuation of Red Dead 1 in a lot of ways. It actually just made the game a lot better. God of War came along and completely redefined how we thought of God of War. It was such a shock to the system. I think that this is going to win for the same reasons. A lot of games have come out this year in incredible quality, fantastic games. They also deserve to win, fine. The reason why this will get over the line is because it's such a shock to the system to see new gameplay mechanics, new gameplay loops, new ways to think of traversal in open worlds, a new IP, a new interesting IP. It's just, there's so many aspects where I do think that this is going to be Game of the Year.
Yep, I definitely agree. It will be a very strong contender, very much, along with Sekiro, with Devil May Cry, with Outer Wilds, not Outer Worlds, Outer Wilds.
Yeah,
I think that it will be, it will be a tough race. But I think as well, just the last thing I want to say is just, I think the legacy of this game, I think first of all, it does invent a new gameplay loop, or not necessarily invent,
maybe a subgenre.
Yeah, some sort of the way that you're managing traversal in this game is very new and very compelling, and I think a lot of other games will look to borrow at least some of its parts, right? Secondly, I think the asynchronistic social systems are really going to be appearing in like so many games. Okay,
Sure.
The idea that I can build a bridge for someone else to use across terrain is such an interesting idea. There are so many structures that you can build in this game that benefit other people, and and very quickly you're immediately thinking less about yourself and more about how you can contribute to others. And I think that idea is going to spread a lot across different games in the future.
Yeah. I think that, just quickly, I also think that it actually, it bakes directly into what this game is all about.
Correct.
Too. In terms of creating an environment where you are doing things for other people, you are trying to bring people together, and you're trying to traverse mass distances to ultimately connect back an entire nation. I do think that it just fits so perfectly with you also trying to help the many people that you may never meet. It's all about, very much like everyone was trying to get into Anchorage. The entire server had to band together, collect materials for a common goal. We've probably never seen anything like that ever, and I don't know if we'll ever see that again. But this kind of mimics that slightly. It's an entire player base all coming together to try and rebuild the whole of America bit by bit, and it's an incredible way of trying to play this game.
Yeah.
And I do think that other games may try and mimic this.
I think, yeah, it is the perfect fusion of its thematic motivations and with its gameplay systems in a way that you just so rarely see in video games. So, you know, look, I think that this game is going to have a very, very large impact on video games in general in the future. No doubt about that. And I wish I had time to do another playthrough. I've got to review other things, but you know, I look forward to playing this in 1 or 2 years' time when I've forgotten it and I'm coming back to it. The PS5 version,
sure.
You know, I'd love to do that. The remastered version or something.
Which would be great.
It runs perfectly, by the way. Can I say on PlayStation? I saw some frame drops,
and I was playing on a PS4 Pro,
but pretty rare frame drops. For me, it ran almost perfectly.
Sure.
I was astounded sometimes. I'm like, how are you keeping your frame rate up with all the shit going on? You know, so that's by the by.
But, I mean, you're right. Like, 95% of the time it was fine. Some moments I'm like, oh, this is a bit glitchy, but like brand new studio, all this kind of stuff coming together, make a perfectly beautiful game that kind of runs like 95%. It's working beautifully. It's just such a triumph on so many levels. It's definitely a game to play. I don't expect everyone to like it. I agree with you. I do think everyone should try it if they do love the. You know, the medium of gaming. It's definitely something to experience. It might just completely reframe the way that you think of gaming. You know, my girlfriend was sitting next to me watching me, and she was kind of like, whoa, I didn't actually... there were some cutscenes that she just didn't expect from gaming. Yeah. She was used to playing, you know, Mario Kart and whatnot. I think this game will also reframe a lot of people's ideas of what gaming is. So
there you guys have it. Death Stranding better than Mario Kart.
Better than Mario Kart.
That's Sam's girlfriend review. It's a girlfriend review channel. Reviews. That's right. This is Sam's. So guys, thanks very much. If you like the video, hit like, share it around. We want to get the word out because, you know, obviously want to give Kojima his props. I'm sure he needs all the help he can get right now.
I'm sure, yes.
He's really struggling to get PR right now. That's why I'm wearing this, to help him out. Help old mate Kojima out by liking our video, okay? That's what he would want.
That's what he wants, guys.
Thanks very much.
All right, guys. Play this.